Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. People are coming in, so we're going to give everyone a few minutes just to kind of get in and get settled down. And while you're coming in, this is going to be an interactive workshop. So it's if you have a pen and paper handy, you may want to take some notes because I'm a big fan of notes because when you write down that information, it really gets processed on a deeper level in your brains. And so this way, as you participate, as you uh, actively participate in this workshop, you'll have some notes and stuff that you can go back to. This is also going to be recorded, so you'll always be able to come back to it when if you ever choose that you want to sort of review or refresh. You can always contact me as well, and I can send you the slideshow that I'm going to be using and those kinds of things. Hang on. All right, let me make sure I'm just getting all the text. All right, so everyone is still coming in. There's the chat. Great. So while we're getting all set up and set in, I want you to put the name of the person that you're here, your child, your sibling, your grandchild. I want you to put it in the chat so that this way we can call in the energies of the people that, that we're here to honor and to sell, and to really to honor. Great. So yeah, because I want to make sure that we're using the chat in a very specific way. So this way we can communicate with each other that way because you're all muted and it's going to be me. Great. So the names are coming in. I'll read a couple of them. Oh, they're coming fast. So Jenna and Justin and Diane and Wendy, my sister Lauren, and I'll talk about her in a moment. Kanan and Todd Andrew, Richard, Lynn. And the more we can mention our people's names, the more we bring them into the space. And I wasn't even planning on sharing this, but in my pocket right now, and I will explain what the bee symbolizes. I have a coin in my that I carry around with me with the symbol of a bee. And my sister's name, Hebrew name, was Devorah, which translates into bee. And on this coin, it says, "Don't forget to be awesome." It's on the back. It says, "Be kind, be positive, be grateful, be humble, be honest." And so I carry this coin on me just as I carry her name with me. So this way she is always with me. I keep it in my little pocket. So this way I always have a reminder that she's with me even in energy and spirit. And that's why we're inviting in and bringing in the people that we love because they're still here with us in some form. That is my true belief. Couple of announcements before we get rocking and rolling is don't forget that the in July we have the national conference. Go on the Compassionate Friends website to register. The room blocks are available, and so make sure that you have all the information for that. Also, I run a we have an online sibling program, and this is just for the siblings out there. That it's www.siblingisland.com, and you can sign up for the links for the weekly meetings. We have a number of different meetings every week. So if either you or your children or anyone that's a bereaved sibling is more than welcome to join, and that is, yeah, those are the couple of announcements. Every month there's going to be a webinar. So this is April's webinar. Keep an eye on the Compassionate Friends website. There's a tab under with all the webinars on there. We did one just last month with a sibling panel that was phenomenal. They record them and put them up. So it's an absolute great resource for you if you haven't accessed that already. Beautiful. Also, any questions? There's a Q&A. If you go into I think there's, I don't see it. Wait. If you go into the chat, there should be a Q&A tab. Sarah, can you just double check that I don't see it coming up on mine, but.
There's a Q&A. If you hover over the bottom, there should be a toolbar that comes up and there should be a Q&A box.
Oh, under, I don't, it's in the chat. It's on the chat bubble, right?
No, it's actually on the toolbar at the bottom. If you hover over and the toolbar pops up.
Okay, right. So it's the three dots. For any of you that are on a computer, it's the three dots that say more. Thank you for that, Sarah. It's the three dots that say more. If you click on the more dots, you'll see a Q&A. Any questions you can totally put in there. I would love to hear your questions so that this way I'll leave room at the end for some of that Q&A so I can answer some of those questions as we open that up. Awesome. I think that covers everything. Then let's get rocking and rolling. So let me share my screen, pull up. I'm going to do a little bit of a slideshow and a little bit of like in-person physical movement and stuff. So the workshop today is when grief lives in the body. We're going to be reconnecting our body, our heart, and our minds. And I want to make sure that we're holding space together in a real beautiful, compassionate way. So make sure, I know life can be very distracting. So please turn off like your cell phones or put them on mute. Close all other web browsers because we get very easily distracted, especially with that grief brain that we have. It's easy to lose focus. So really stay present and as much participation as you can, the better. We're going to do some activities if you're driving a car or just listening or at work, right? Just be mindful and adapt as you need to. There's going to be stuff that's put in the chat. So please be respectful and confidential. Confidentiality is key. So whatever stays in this, whatever happens in this room, let it stay in this room. Please engage with the material. So it's not just about sitting and listening. That's terrific. Take some notes. We're going to get up and do a little bit of movement. And I want you to really participate because the more you participate, the more you will get out of it. So if you are all willing to do that, just write agree in the chat box. Great. Now, I have a personal intention for this class. And the key for me is that you're going to have an experience to start feeling even just a little bit better. It may not be all the way, but even if you go get a little bit, progress is better than perfection. So if you go from a 1 to a 2, I'm totally good with that, right? So we want to make sure that we're implementing things that are going to start to help us manage our grief more effectively and get us in a better, more positive space, even though that may sound challenging, especially in the early stages of grief. So that's my intention for the class, and I have a personal intention today for all of you as well. So if today's session resonates with you, there are ways of going deeper. I'm going to offer you 5 practices to feel better fast with my tip sheet. I do a weekly newsletter and then I also have individual support, and I'll share how that we can all stay connected right at the end. So we'll wrap that. Now, I want you to, let's have your intention. So what I want you to do is sit up nice and tall. I'm going to slide back just a little, right? I want you to feel your chest lifted, feel your shoulders drop, and then I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Now, if you're driving, please do this with your eyes open and pay attention to the road. But if you're at home or in a space where you can, I just want you to close your eyes and focus on your breath. And I just want you to notice the breath gently moving in and out of the body. And then on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I feel absolutely terrible, and 10 being I feel absolutely magnificent, where do you rate yourself right here, right now? Now, the key is to be truthful with yourself. Don't make it worse than it is, and don't make it better than it is. Because when we start to do that, then we're actually lying to ourselves. So rate yourself how you truly feel right now from 1 to 10. And just remember that number. And then, what do you want to get out of this session today? What is your goal? What is your hoping and wanting with this time together? And just take a moment with a little bit of space. Good. Just take another breath or two. Great. And then when you are ready, Slowly crack open your eyes and then write in the chat what your intention is. So I see all the numbers flying in 6, 7, 6, 4, 5, 8. Great. So we have a whole range, right? Some coping skills. Beautiful. Great. You can write your number and then what you want. Also, if you haven't written your number in, you can write the number and what you want to get out of this session. Coping skills is the one I saw. Inspiration. Awesome. 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 I'm hoping to give you both. Confidence is a good one, right? We all have all right, so there's less sadness, and we're going to talk in a second about rather than less sadness, right? Because that focuses on the negative, obvious. Well, not the negative, but that focuses on a disempowering emotion. What would you like to feel instead? Right? We always want to focus on what we want, not what we don't want. I want to focus on wellness, not on sickness, right? I don't want to be sick, still focuses on the sickness. Motivation to exercise and do things to help me move, great. I love the coping skills piece. Well, if you're a coping skills person, you're my kind of people because I love teaching coping skills 100%. Beautiful. Yeah. Good, good, good. Keep it coming. Keep it bringing it in. Excellent. Awesome. All right, let me share. So talking about coping skills. All right, I'm going to share my somatic, which really just means body, because I have this body centered approach. I'll tell you how I got there in a second, but this is the framework that I use. Now I don't like stages because stages means, oh, you have to do one thing and then the other and then the other. I'm a big fan of using frameworks because within a framework, you can add your experience into that framework so that you can actually start to implement some things, learn to cope with things a little bit better. And so this is my 3-step framework. It is not linear, by the way. It can jump around. But step 1 is pattern recognition. We need to notice the grief signals as they come up, as they start to trigger us. We also need to learn to regulate our emotions a little bit more effectively because when we are a victim to our emotions, then the emotions control us rather than we control the emotions. We have these emotions and we can learn to manage them more effectively. And when you're in the early stages of grief, that may seem like a foreign concept, but trust me in that and look at it with a sense of belief, right? We also want to be able to find the blocks that are stopping us from moving forward. And then, but even though we can recognize the patterns, doesn't mean our patterns start to change. So then we have to go to step number 2, which is pattern interruption. When those patterns come up, we have to break them. And when we do, that can restore flow and vitality. It also releases what you're holding on to so that you can experience lightness again. And then step number 3 is creating new patterns so that you can redefine who you are and so that you can design a life that pulls you and act out of a sense of peace and purpose. And when we're in the early stages, step 1 is plenty to deal with. Right? So just be really careful and notice where you are in your grief journey because different people at different stages need different things. And so I'm trying to give you an overview, but because of time today, we're going to focus on just step 1. All right. Let me explain a little bit about who I am and how I got to do what I love to do. So I am Jason Wendroff-Ronicky. I'm a body-centered grief therapist, and I love helping people that have suffered a significant loss find hope and joy again. I've done a bunch of cool stuff in the grief space. I'm a best-selling author in the book Faces of Grief. I did my first keynote speech at the Compassionate Friends Conference in New Orleans a couple of years ago. I have a recording of that on my website, so if you want to check it out, you can hit me up. I've done work with like Heidi Horsley and Open to Hope and some other organizations, Punt, which deals with pediatric cancer, and COPE, which is a grief organization out of New York. And I also speak, actually one I forgot, is that I also speak at the Grief Awareness and Education Conference in Connecticut. We have one coming up in September that we're in the planning stages for. So I've done a lot of cool stuff, but how did I get here? So this is my sister, Lauren Michelle Wendroff. AKA duty ball, and that's exactly what it sounds like. We called each other duty ball. It was originally out of anger and frustration at one another, but then it became a term of endearment. And she died in a car accident in 1998. At that point, I was studying psychology, and my intention was to be a more talk therapy clinical psychologist. That's what I was going to college for. I went for my master's. And then when she passed away, I realized that talk therapy for me wasn't going to be enough. Yes, it was helpful, but I needed something more. Before she passed, I was doing things like studying yoga. I was starting to change my diet and my health routines were starting to change. I was losing weight. I was getting healthier. And it was pretty much because she passed, I realized if I didn't change my lifestyle habits, then I was going to go down the same road. I was headed for an early death because I was overweight. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't moving my body. I wasn't healthy. The thing is the healthier my body got, the easier it was for me to deal with my grief and loss, because our brains are part of our body. And when you're providing your brain with all of the nutrients that it needs to stay healthy and to be well, it's easier to deal with the emotional regulation component of it. And that actually really surprised me, because in therapy, it's like, oh, I'll talk, but nothing about the physical body. And so my grief journey and my wellness journey was all about how can I improve my physical health, which would then in turn improve my mental and emotional health as well. So that really pushed me into learning some strategies. And over 25 years, I've been really studying and fine tuning what's been working for me. And now I'm helping others do the same. So it's something that I never, ever, ever thought that I would be doing on a professional level. But at a Compassionate Friends conference, I was teaching yoga, and I was talking to one of my fellow siblings about why they attended the conference. And what she told me was that it was the only 3 days of the year that she could talk about her sister and feel herself. And it really just surprised me, because there wasn't a lot of sibling support across the country. So I started an online peer support group through the Compassionate Friends, and that just happened to grow over the course of the last 6 years. And from that, I decided that I needed to take my wellness, and I needed to help other people with it. And so that's what really got me going with that. So let's talk about connecting our body, our heart, and our mind. So if you look here, pattern recognition is about noticing what you're doing as you're doing it in the present moment. And if you look, there's 4 elements of that. There's the physical body, there's our emotions, and there's the mind. Part of the reason that grief gets very overwhelming is because we don't know which aspect that we're dealing with. When those waves of grief come up, we don't know, are they physical, right? Are they in the body? Are they emotional? Are they in the heart? Or are they mental, in the mind? And grief has elements of all of it in there. And so we have to be able to start to identify that and notice the patterns that we engage. Everybody's grief is different, so their patterns are going to be different. Anyone that tries to tell you there's one way of doing grief, I would run the other way, because you do grief, you do loss the way you do it. And it's really important to start to understand the way your patterns work in your body, in your heart, and in your mind, so that you can shift and change them. So if you notice, there's a big blue arrow that connects everything, and that's the breath. And out of my yoga training and my love for yoga, I want to teach you how to breathe deeply, because out of coping skills, this is, I think, one of the most important things to help to regulate your nervous system, right? And so I want to teach you deep breathing so that this way you can use it. Breath is free. It's with you everywhere. You can do it anywhere. And so when those waves of grief come up, you can just take a couple of deep breaths. I'm going to show you how to do it so that this way you have a simple coping skill. So what I want you to do once again is sit up nice and tall, right? And then I want you to take one hand to your belly and one hand to the chest. Now, with this specific breath, we're going to breathe in and out through the nostrils because we have two energy centers that end it like by the nostrils, and that's why it helps to regulate the nervous system. And then I want you to breathe however normal is for you. And I want you to feel your chest move and your belly move. And then I want you to notice, do you breathe more from your belly or more from your chest? Just make an observation. Good. Now, on your next exhale, I want you to keep your chest where it is and just see if you can isolate the breath into the belly. And let the belly expand. The diaphragm will pull down, the belly will move out of the way, and then as you exhale, the belly will move into the body. Try not to move your chest, just the belly. So inhale into the belly, and then exhale, release the belly. Inhaling into the belly, and exhale, release the belly. Now let's try to get the breath into the chest. So inhale, breathe into the chest. Feel your rib cage separate and lift. And then as you exhale, the rib cage will deflate the lungs and bring the chest back down into the body. Good. Inhale into the chest. And exhale, release the chest. Good. One more time, and then we'll add them together. Now I'm going to teach you three-part breath. So inhale, fill up your belly. Let your chest inflate. Sorry, lungs inflate, chest rise. Sorry, my brain and mouth aren't working together. And then exhale, release chest first, lungs deflate, belly moves back down into the body. Let me try that again. Inhale, filling up belly, lungs, and chest. And then exhale, release chest, lungs, and belly. Good. One more time with your eyes open. Now I want you to close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. Inhale, filling up belly, lungs, and chest. Exhale, chest, lungs, and belly. Good. 2 more. Awesome. Last one. And then just let the breath ride. Let the hands fall into the lap. And I just want you to take a second to notice any shifting that has happened. Just take another maybe deep breath or 2. And then I want you to notice what shifted, and I want you to put it in the chat. So just noticing any shifting that happened, even a little or big or minute, and pop it right into the chat. The breath, when you breathe deeper, great, the breath flows easier. Did you notice anything along the shoulders relaxed? Yeah, I was going to say, did you notice anything in the tension? You're calmer, beautiful, right? And that's all from just your shoulders drop. And they actually say, as far as our emotions go and as far as confidence goes, the most important distance is between our ears and our shoulders. Because if we hold, and I'll explain why when we talk about emotions, if we hold our shoulders up to our ears, then we're actually closing everything off, right? Once we drop the shoulders, then we create more space, right? Less tension, calmer, awesome. And we only did this for about a minute or 2, right? Everyone can carve out a few seconds of deep breathing throughout the day to help, especially in those points of where you start to feel the tension start to build up, or you notice that the shoulders are up, or that your look like your face is contracted, right? Taking a couple of deep breaths, great, can help relax the body. It helps to relax the nervous system. So that is a super simple coping technique. Always have it with you, can do it at any time, can do it multiple times a day. Keep breathing, right? Keep deepening the breath, because once tension arises, you have now a tool to help relax the tension. Awesome, awesome. Great. Now let's talk, now that we talked about the connection of our mind, heart, and body, let's talk about the body itself. What happens? So we have 5, and a lot of times we confuse feelings and sensations. Sensations are a thing of the body, right? The information comes in through sight, through sound, through smell, through touch, through taste. And so we get all of this information, and then our brains then process that information and create a perception around it. And so a lot of times we say, well, I feel tense, right? The tensing is actually a sensation. The emotions are something different. Feelings are the words of emotions. Sensations are the things of the body. So we have to make sure that we notice what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you touch, what you taste are all connected to the body. And everything our body is a recording device. So it records everything, every experience, both good and bad, both positive and negative, both empowering and disempowering. And so our cells really respond to that, to what's happening in our mind and in our heart as well. So our thoughts are vibrations, but they're affected on the cells of the body, and we hold on to those sensations until we let them go. Now, so often hopefully you've heard of the fight, flight, freeze response, and especially in grief, a lot of times, well, some of us go to the fight, some of us go to the flee, and some of us go to the freeze. So notice which one you kind of gear towards, and we are going to shift and change that up a little bit. So I want you to stand up. And someone mentioned in the chat that they want to kind of do things to help their body and move. It doesn't need to be complicated, right? And so we're going to just do a little bit of shaking. So hang on, let me just set up my and if you have some physical things going on, like shoulder issues, please be gentle with yourself. If you want to shake it out a little bit more, and I go a little bit aggressive, and I'm going to put on some music, and we're going to start to shake it out, right? So I want you to start with your right hand. Just give it a little shake, right? And make sure when you get into a pattern, start to break it up, right? So if you feel like, all right, break it up a little. And then go up into your elbow. Good. And then up into the shoulder. And then just give it a little shake around. Good. And then the left hand, give it a little shake. And then to the elbow. And then up into the shoulder. And just simple movements. This helps to release the fight, flight, freeze response. Good. And then do both arms. And get crazy, get silly, get playful with it, right? Grief, I know, can be heavy, but sometimes we have to shake it up a little, right? Bring the arms up and down, go with the flow, go with the music. Good. And now let's go into the hips, right? So just shift the weight and just get that right leg going. And if you want to completely skip what I'm telling you and just dance around, that's totally cool too. And then get the knee going. Just be careful if you have some like cartilage stuff, and then roll the ankle in one direction and then the other. Good. And then get the whole right leg going. If you want to give it a little shake at it, good. If you need something for balance, go for it. And then go with the left side. Just give it a little hit. Good. And then the knee. Good. And then the golden ankle. And then just shake out both legs, right? Give it a little shake out. Good. And then bring your hands onto your hips. And then just circle the hips. And then get the belly going. And the chest. And the shoulders. And the head. And the neck. Get everything going. And then just shake it all out. And, oh, I forgot one thing, right? Shake that rump. Shake the tush. Shake what your mama gave you, right? And then just let the body just naturally move to the music. Let go of like that, whatever resistance that you have. Good. And we're going to shake it out for 5, 4, 3, 2, good, 1. And then I want you to stand up nice and tall. Bring your hands on your hips. Lift your chest, drop your shoulders, close your eyes. And I want you just to take a moment to notice inward. And just take about 2 to 3 breaths and notice how you feel in your body because grief lives there too. And then once you've got that notice, then just gently come back to your chair and you're going to pop into the chat any shifting, any noticing, any observations that you've made just from some simple movements for 2 or 3 minutes, right? I love to turn on, I love to have like a little dance break. So every now and again, what I will do is I will turn on some music, just dance around for 3 minutes, and then get back to whatever else I was doing. Good. Oh, there's a happy feeling. That's great. You're feeling lifted, right? More relaxed. Awesome. Yeah, because movement still pretty numb. That's totally fine too, right? Like we all have our own experiences and we have to honor those experiences. Awake, more energy, more energy. Yeah. Energy. Oh, energy is like, we have to think of energy like a power plant. We don't just get energy, we have to make that energy, right? And it's okay if you're in your early stages or even your mid stages and moving doesn't work for you. That's totally fine too, right? But just notice what your patterns are, right? Lifted and more relaxed, reconnected, right? You started crying and crying, we put such a judgment around crying can mean a million different things, right? It can mean sadness, but it could also mean happiness, right? And getting that movement in the body is, I think, is so, for me, it's been one of the critical things that has helped me in me managing my grief as well. Great. So let me give you a couple of others. Hang on one sec. Get my slides back going. I'm going to give you a couple of other suggestions as far as like how do we manage the body. And these things have been really, really important to me is making sure that you're looking at your diet, making sure that you're giving your body the things that it needs to really thrive, especially in grief when we don't want to eat and we literally are starving the body and then wonder why we don't feel well or when we're not in a resourceful place. So our diet is really connected. I've actually done a thing where I've created a food journal along with my emotions so that this way I can see how my food affects the way I feel. And so there's a real big crossover between our diet and our emotions. So making sure that and you don't have to make a huge change in your diet. Change just one thing. Maybe it's drinking more water. Maybe it's, choosing an apple over a cookie. Maybe it's, just eating less of something. Make one small change because one small change over time actually adds up to quite a bit. Number 2 is movement. And I don't like to say exercise, even though I do exercise. Movement is important. Getting up, walking around the block, dancing. Also make sure your sleep is, you're getting sleep, which for some of you, I know once I said that word sleep, it's technically a 5-letter word, but it's right. We have to make sure that we're getting good quality sleep because the research is showing that sleep is actually more important than diet and movement because it's our body's ability to repair itself. So we have to make sure that we're getting good quality sleep. And that means maybe going outside, turning off devices, exercising or moving so that we tire ourselves down at night. And then for me, also supplementation, taking the right vitamins, omegas, those kinds of things are important because unfortunately, I don't think we get everything that we need from our diet, being that, in the society that we live with the agriculture the way it is. I won't go down that rabbit hole, but I'm feeling that for me, I need supplementation to help for where my diet is not filling in the right stuff for my body, right? So number 2 is our emotions, and our emotions are literally just that. They're our feelings. They're in the heart. And the main emotions are happiness, anger, joy, sadness, frustration, loneliness, excitement, and guilt, numbness. And I know someone mentioned numbness, right? Feeling numb is feeling something. So if you're feeling numb, you are feeling something. But it's the lack of all the other ones, right? So we have to really get a better handle on managing our emotions. So let's talk about how emotions, especially in grief, it can be very challenging. But I always look at it, we need to ride the waves of emotion. And what does that mean? So there's an incident that happened, and it could be as, as inconsequential as you stubbing your toe, or it can be as significant as losing a child or a sibling or a grandchild, right? An incident happens, and then what happens? Oop, sorry, I went the wrong way. Our emotions start to build. And this is what a lot of times when we start to feel our emotions, we get scared and then we jump off this wave. And when we jump off the wave through things like binging Netflix, overeating, drinking, drugs, anything that, even things that are considered healthy, like exercise. You can exercise so much that it actually pulls you off of the wave of emotion, but then you're repeating the patterns over and over and over again. The only way to let the emotions build and fall is if you experience them. And that may be scary, but when you do get to the top, every emotion, it just comes in waves. So it will crest. You will have like that little breakthrough at the top, and then it will integrate back into your body, into your heart, so that you can make a change. And what we have to do is we need to just trust that the wave will crest. And this process, if you do not feed the emotion, and I'll explain to you what I mean by feed the emotion, if you just let that wave happen, it will only take about 90 seconds. And I know you're probably saying BS, that's not right. I've been miserable for the last 4, 5, 6 months, 5 years, 10 years. The reason is because you keep feeding the emotion. You keep feeding it with more information. And so the emotion actually takes longer. It doesn't actually wave and crest. It just keeps repeating itself over and over and over again. And so we feed it with our thoughts. We feed it with with our physicality. We keep feeding those emotions. So it's now time to take a little, we're going to add a little bit of a emotional break. So once again, I want you to stand up. I'm going to show you that emotions also have a physiology. They have a body set. So if I'm standing up nice and tall and I throw my shoulders back, I lift my arms up to the sky, right? What emotion do you think of? Would you say that person's depressed? No, you would say that person is either joyful or happy or elevated, right? If I bring my hands in front of me, I round my shoulders, I round my back, right? You wouldn't say that that person is happy. So what I want you to do is I'm going to name a couple of emotions and I want you to mirror the physiology of it. And then we're going to do a couple of them and then we're going to kind of break those emotions up with a little laughter, right? So I want you to close your eyes for a second. And then when you feel the emotion of sadness, what happens with your body? Right? So think of sadness and then just let your body do what it does naturally. And then I want you to exaggerate that and exaggerate that and exaggerate that. And I just want you to hold it for a second and feel what it feels like in your body, sadness. Good. And then when you're ready, bring it back up. Good. Shake it off a little, right? Good. Let the shoulders relax. Give it a little wiggle. Now, if you can access happiness, right? See if you can access that. Or even remember a time in your life that you were happy. And then I want you to feel what that does to the body. And then exaggerate it. And exaggerate it a little bit more. And exaggerate it a little bit more. And then hold it. And feel what that feels like in your body. To change, even if you change the physiology of it, right? Holding your arms up, chest rise. Notice how it can help shift the emotions. Good. And then when you're ready, awesome. Release it. Also shake that out. Good. Now, sometimes we need a way of breaking those patterns. Once we're in, like, let's say, a cycle of sadness, sometimes we need to break those patterns. And we can do this with laughter. And we're going to fake laugh, but then I want you to see how it can really change your physiology from the inside out. So I'm going to walk you through it. I can't hear you. I do this at the conference and it's a blast, right? But I'm going to go over how to laugh. So you're going to use your diaphragm, this muscle that like controls our breathing. And I want you to bring your hand right above your belly button, but below your rib cage. And then you're just going to open up and just go, ha, 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 right? Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. But there's one thing I also want to make sure you do. Put a smile on your face and go, ha, 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 ha. Even if you're feeling numb and you're feeling miserable and you're feeling exhausted, just try to change the physiology of it and just play around to see what happens. Ha 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 ha! 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 Good. Now we're going to go through all of the vowels. We're going to go ha, he, he, ho, hu. Right? So it's go ha 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 ha! He 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 ho 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 hoo 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 ha 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 he 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 hoo 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 ha 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 he 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 ho 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 hoo 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 ha ha ha, and then just mix it up for just about 10 seconds. Ha 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 ho he 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 ha ha hoo 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 ha 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 he 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 ha 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 ha, and then just come to stand up nice and tall and notice again, right? Bring your awareness in. Awesome. Good. And then come back to your seat. Beautiful. Notice any shifts? Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to feel happiness at first, right? That's a great notice. Sometimes, and just notice why. Are you holding yourself back from it, right? We always, as what stage of your grief journey are you in? All of these things make a difference. In the beginning, it is absolutely hard to feel happiness, right? And sometimes we have to change our physiology. We can change our physiology, which will then start to we change our physiology, and then our emotions start to change because we think the way we feel and then we feel the way we think. So it all works together, right? Yeah, and when we start fake laughing, then we really start to begin to laugh. And just changing the physiology of laughter will also, right, engage those endorphins. There's a lot of science behind it where when you start to laugh, you just change your outlook on life, period. And I'll give you my own personal example of that is that in the beginning of the pandemic, when things were really tough and really heavy, I would sit and put on stand-up comedy shows every night because it forced me to laugh, and I would go to bed thinking of things that were funny rather than of things that were just completely heavy and hard, right? Yeah, it's hard to breathe and laugh with the diaphragm. It takes practice. Listen, I've only been with you for about 40 minutes. It does take practice. So if it's something that you want to work on, totally, it's easy to kind of practice that because that actually helps when you're strengthening your diaphragm, you're strengthening your major muscle of respiration. It can help you breathe deeper and actually help to relax the nervous system a little bit more effectively. Great. So that is, and so those are about our emotions. We can always laugh. There are some other things that you can do to take care of your emotions. It's really important to make sure that you spend, some time every day just to give yourself some space to feel. Many of us don't. We're so busy with our to-do list that we don't give ourselves time to really feel what we're feeling. Laughing is a great way of changing the emotions. There's a changing your physiology, the power stance that we worked on, standing up nice and tall with your hands on your hips. That changes your physiology, which will then start to shift into your emotions. I also use diffusing essential oils as a great way of navigating my emotions because there are some essential oils that are calming and relaxing from when I feel a little tense. And then there's other ones that are uplifting for when I'm feeling a little down and I need that little extra boost to get me up. So there are some things for taking care of your emotions. Last thing is our thoughts. And our thoughts are all of like the questions, statements, and beliefs that go on in our head, and we think about, I think about 100,000 thoughts per day, but usually we have the same 8, 9, or 10 on loop over and over and over and over again. And so what we need to do is really figure out how to manage our thoughts little bit more effectively so that they're not on a loop. So here's a good question for you. What are some of the thoughts that come up for you around your grief and loss? Some of those things that you feel are holding you back. I'll give you some examples of the ones that were true for me. They're not true anymore, but in the beginning of my journey, I thought, oh my God, I'm never going to be happy again. That was a thought that I consistently thought. When I think thoughts like I'm never going to be happy again, what happens? I'm not going to be happy because my reality meets the thoughts where they're at. When I used to hear a phone ring, the first thought I had, who's dead next? Because when I found out about my sister's death, it was via telephone. All right. So guilt, right? Guilt is an emotion, right? So what are the thoughts, right? That's the guilt is how you're feeling, but what are you thinking? Is there something that you're thinking before the guilt comes into play? And that's why it's important to be able to identify what's a physical sensation, what's an emotion, and what's a thought, because they're a little different and they usually get mixed up with each other, right? So what are some of the other thoughts that come up, like come up for you? And put it in the chat if you've got them. I'm just trying to think. Some of the other ones, what is it ever going to be better? Right? Right. It was this your fault, right? Those are thoughts. Now remember, our thoughts are very real to us, but they are not true. We have to find ways of really what am I going to do with my life, right? Unexpected, yeah. There's always going to be unexpected bad news, right? These are the things that are coming up on repetitive. When will I feel better, right? These are the questions, these are the beliefs, and how we look at it really determines how we think about it is how it reflects in our life. And I'll also tell you about one of my shifts that happened. When my sister passed, I thought, oh my God, this is the worst thing that has ever happened in my life. Life is never going to be good. Life is going to always be crappy. But then I realized I had to start to change the way I started to think about my grief and my loss. Because if I didn't change the way I thought about it, then my life was always going to be crappy. My life was always going to be hard. My life was always going to be the way I thought about it. So I started to notice that as I started moving on in my grief journey, I realized, wait a second, there's a lot of things that I learned from my grief that I would never have experienced before. The fact that I'm courageous now, the fact that I'm talking to you here on a webinar is remarkable because I would never thought that I would be I would be talking to people about grief and loss because I didn't have the courage. I would have done everything just for myself and not really been of service to others. One of the things that grief has taught me is to be of service to other people. Grief has taught me the courage. Grief has taught me compassion. Grief has taught me to really take care of how I use my time, because time, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next moment. So all of these lessons, shifting the way I've looked at even my own grief, has been really critical for me so that now I can experience joy again. I can experience happiness. I can get excited about life. I can be excited waking up every day knowing that I'm helping people and I'm serving. Yeah, and it is. Yeah, this some of the things, of course, the way I'm breaking it down is simple, but it is not easy for sure. Yeah, especially around each one of our grief journeys is so different, and sometimes those journeys are a little complicated for sure. And we have to really make sure that we're learning to manage it more effectively. So let's talk about the thoughts. We're going to do something called incantation, and this is what I like to do. It involves our body, our voice, and our brain. So I want you to stand up again. Let me just make sure. Yeah. This will be our last activity, I promise. And then yeah. So what we're gonna do is people say intentions are great. And I think they're okay, right? Because we can intend to do something. I can intend to lose 10 pounds and never actually do it. When we do in what's called an incantation, we're gonna add a little physicality to it, but we're going to then invite in what we want. So I want you to think of something that you want to invite in, whether it's courage, whether it's joy, whether it's happiness, whether it's whatever. And then I am going to give you a simple incantation, and the words are, all I need is within me now. Right. And I love that one because it's not about like, oh, positive thinking. It's knowing that you have all the resources that you need to manage your grief. You already have them inside, right? They're already there for you. And so what we're going to do is I want you to start marching your feet and actually feel your feet, create like a little rhythm with your feet. And then if you want, right, do a little movement, right? If you want to tap, right? If you tap a shoulder, maybe tap your heart, something that adds a little rhythm. And then once you've got the rhythm, we're going to add that incantation. All I need is within me now. All I need is within me now. All I need is within me now. All I need is within me. Now we're going to be a little silly with it. We're going to change the stress on the different words. So we're going to go, all I need is within me now. 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 Now, if you want to change it, right, you could be, I am strong. I am strong. I am strong. I am confident. I am confident. Whatever your intention was from the beginning of this workshop, I am happy. I am happy. I am calm. I am calm. Whatever you want to add to it, go. We'll do three more. I am lucky. I am grateful. I am happy, right? And then I want you to put your hands on your heart. Breathe into your heart and say to yourself, I am love. And just take a couple of deep breaths, breathing into your heart. Good. Breathing in, both sending and receiving love from yourself and to others. And then when you're ready, good, bring it back to, you could come back to your chair or to your computer, right? There's a question about rewatching. It's the webinar will be posted on the Compassionate Friends website under the webinar section once it's done. Cool. So bring it back. Notice any shifting. Notice notice what was your incantation, right? What was the thing that you need to bring into your experience? And notice any changes and shifts that have happened. Be awesome. Couple of other things. Let me just grab. Oop, hang on. Beautiful. So here's a couple of the of some of the things that you can do to take care of your mind. Reading is a great thing. And not, I mean, a lot of people go towards grief reading, which is great, but look at personal development stuff, things that are also going to be uplifting. Journaling is a fantastic thing to dump your brain out onto some paper and just to kind of get all of this stuff out. And I always say the best time to do like journaling is either right before bed so that you can dump it right out. Everything that's in your brain, just dump it out into a journal page right before you go to sleep. Oh, I spelled meditating wrong. But praying is a great way of taking care of your mind. That's asking. And then meditating, spelled incorrectly, is about receiving. So we need to make sure that we're doing things each and every day to take care of our body, our heart, and our mind, right? And sometimes we actually need more support. And how do you know if you need more support? Is that if you feel stuck in the same emotional patterns over and over and over again, you experience physical challenges in the body. To me, that's one of the indicators. If you're, especially if you're going to the doctor and they know something's wrong, but they're not able to find it, it could be that grief that's really stuck in the body that needs that expression. And if you want tools to reconnect, back to that meeting and joy, because sometimes grief just needs more than just a single session or a single workshop, right? And so, for those of you that do need deeper support, I do a grief relief breakthrough session where we identify where the grief is living in your body. You can learn some tools to restore balance so that you can create a path towards hope and meaning. You can connect with me after that if you're interested. And I do want to end with a parable that I absolutely think describes not just grief, but like how people respond to grief in a really beautiful way. And that's the man and the butterfly. So a man found a cocoon of a butterfly, and one day a small opening appeared. He sat and watched the butterfly for several hours as it struggled to force its body through the tiny hole. When it seemed to stop making any progress, it appeared as if it had gotten as far as it could go and could go no further. So the man decided to help the butterfly. He took a pair of scissors and snipped off the remaining bit of cocoon. The butterfly then emerged easily, but had a swollen body and small shriveled wings. The man continued to watch the butterfly because he expected that at any moment the wings would enlarge and expand to be able to support the body, which would contract in time. Neither happened. In fact, the butterfly spent the rest of its life crawling around with a swollen body and shriveled wings and was never able to fly. What the man in his kindness and haste did not understand was that the restricting cocoon and struggle required for the butterfly to get through the tiny opening were nature's way of forcing fluid from the body of the butterfly into its wings so it could be ready for flight once it achieved its freedom from the cocoon. Sometimes struggles are exactly what we need in our life. If we're allowed to go through our life without any obstacles, it would cripple us and we would not be able to fly, right? So our challenges sometimes, almost all the time, get us to learn and grow. Not like it's something that we would want to happen, but because it has happened, we need to be able to shift and change the way we look at it. So here's if you want to take a quick picture of this slide or the QR code. So I have a free tip sheet, 5 ways to stay calm in the body when grief feels overwhelming. And if you want, you can hop onto my newsletter. I do a weekly newsletter with what I'm dealing with grief and all of the things that, that I'm doing with, workshops and things like that. So feel free. I'll leave that on there for just so take out your camera if you want to scan that QR code or take a screenshot of that and connect with me. And if for some reason you don't make it, this is going to be on the recording, so you can always grab it off of the recording. Cool. Yes. So, yeah, that leaves me a couple of minutes. Does anyone have any questions? Let me hop over to the Q&A. Hang on one second. I would look. Oh, all right. So I'm going to hang on one second. So the sibling, I'm going to put the sibling island. I think that's www.siblingisland.com. Okay. So I put the link in the chat, the www.siblingisland.com. Courtney, yes, I have a video on my website. If you had that QR, I'll put my website also. I have my video for the keynote I did for the Compassionate Friends. Let me just, I'm going to put that in the chat and you can just grab on that. Um, mm, Make sure I spelt that all right. Good. Oh, you couldn't see. Oh, that's weird. You couldn't see. Let me put that up again, the QR code again. Just hang on. And that's all. Oh, hang on. That's not what I wanted, I don't think. Hang on one second. Sorry, little tech issues. Share. Oh, what happened to? That's odd. My slideshow quit out. Uh, Give me a second and I will put the QR code in the chat. I don't know why it didn't show up. Maybe it quit. That's strange. Okay, hang on one second. All right, give me one second. I will pull up the QR code again. Hang on. Where? For some reason, my slideshow quit out. Give me one second for the tech. All right. Why did that? This is very odd. I'm having little tech issues. Here's that. Give me one second. Sorry about this, guys. Of course, everything is. Oh, here we go. Hopefully, you should be able to see. Can you see the QR code now? I'm hoping yes. There's the QR code. Did everyone see, did everyone get the QR code or no? All right, hang on. I think it's all right. Good, good, good. Great. So I think we got, yeah, I'll also put the QR code in the chat. Just give me one quick second. And then this way you'll have it. Why is this? Hello, please. Oh, you know what? It doesn't let me, it's not letting me put it in the chat. All right. Well, it should hopefully come out in the recording. If anyone, my website is on there so you can connect with me. If not, just reach out to Sarah and she'll get that all squared away because it'll be up there. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for attending. Hopefully you came out with what you wanted to get out of it with your some coping skills, some inspiration, and some tools that you can use on a daily basis. The more you use the tools, the better off. It'll change and shift your grief and your loss. Doesn't make necessarily make it any easier, but gives you some hope. Awesome. Let me stop this. Oh, cool. Let me just. So Sarah, I think we are good. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks so much, Jason.
Yeah, anything anything you need from me before we rock and roll, or you want to
No,
say?
I think we're good.
Awesome. 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 Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and hopefully you'll stay connected.
Thanks, Jason.
Have a
Bye.
great day. Bye.